So as we all done with the lab setup and the installation part, and now I'm going to explain you the command line interface of the Linux systems. So which is a fundamental standard command line interface which you can try almost every Linux. So to communicate with any Linux system, and the command line interface is something which is mandatory. The reason Linux is will not be having everything that graphically accessed. So as compared to the Windows, Linux systems are less graphical, and most of the tools and even some techniques, everything we will have to use them through the command line interface only. And after we getting familiar with the command line interface, all the practicals to perform them, it's going to be very easy. And before we start that, I'm going to just introduce the options that we have here after you logged into the Parrot Security. So first I'm going to show you in the zoom in mode, and then I'll zoom out so that you will have the idea. And if you just start with the left side top corner, applications are here. So for these applications, all the installed softwares on the applications, you can access them from here. So if I want to use internet, some browsers and some other platforms, whatever we can use the softwares, it is simply showing you, and some graphical content and sound and video, like playing some videos or the audio files, and penetration testing and the tools, the most commonly used tools, information gathering, vulnerability analysis, and more and more. So all the applications you can identify, all of the installed applications you can identify from here, and by just clicking on the application you can open it, any one of it. So that is how you will take help of the applications. And next to these applications you have places. Places is like file explorer in our Windows. On the Windows system, by opening File Explorer, you can go to your desktop, documents, and pictures, and downloads, and any location. Exactly the same way from the places you can do that on the Linux. So if I just click on the home folder or the desktop, documents, anything, I'll just go to the location. I'm on the home location now. And if I just click on the desktop, now I'm on the desktop, and downloads, I can go there, and documents, everything. And when I open the places in the graphical user interface, the shortcuts, like which is copy paste and all, Control C, Control V, these shortcuts will be same here as well. So on the graphical user interface, all the shortcuts are same, but when we use in the command line interface, the shortcuts are different. Okay, so just next to the places we have system. All of the system settings, it's like a system administration or the control panel, which you can see in the name of control center, and preferences like settings. And also you have lock the device and lock the screen, or log out or switching the user and shut down. So here you have locking the device, or log out or switch user, and shut down. And when you click on the shutdown, you will also see the restart button, something like this, showing me that do you want to suspend the session or restart, cancel, shutdown. So just by clicking on the shutdown, you will get all of these options. And next to the system, you have browser, this icon, Firefox browser. So Firefox is already pre-installed. You don't have to use any other browsers. It will perfectly work, and we're going to use that. So whenever I ask you to open the browser, you will take help of the Firefox. And next to the Firefox browser, made terminal. In short, we call it as terminal. It's similar as your command prompt on the Windows. But commands are very different, but I'm just talking about how it looks like. So when you open the terminal, this is how it looks like. And most of the time, any of the practicals which are command line based, we will be taking help of the terminal only. So this terminal will help you to communicate with the system in the command line interface. And next to the terminal, you can see another application, another icon, which is Pluma, the text editor. It's like a notepad on your Windows. So here The Notepad-like utility, we call it as Pluma. And if you want to just save any text content or edit text content, you can just take help of it. And next to it, VS Codium, which we don't use. This is just very useful for the developers. So we don't actually use that and we don't need that. But still it is already available. So I'm just telling what exactly that is. And that is all you have on the left hand side. And if you see in the center, you can see a small graphs here, real-time graph. And if you properly observe, it is having 3 parts in there. So 3 graphs separately showing you the real-time hardware resources and utilization. How much amount of hardware is being used at the time in the real time. So first graph processor, second graph memory, which is nothing but RAM, next internet, network. So if you closely observe, there are 3 parts in there. It's not just one graph. 3 parts are there. First partition of the graph will show you the processor, next RAM, and other one is network. You can see uh, the number of bytes per second receiving and also sending. So this is very useful, especially sometimes your system will hangs because of if you just give overload on your device. We have provided only limited resources, right? I asked you to set only 3 to 4 GB, and you have to understand that. So you have to give the load only within that specific capability. Something like I open the Firefox with 10 tabs and I open some other two or three different browsers. And when I open multiple applications, all the RAM will get occupied. If all of the RAM has occupied, system will hangs. So that's why whatever applications or whatever softwares that we don't need, once the practical is done, we will close that and then we will go for the next practical with other tools. So if you just keep all of them opened, your system will definitely hangs. Just always observe that the RAM and CPU, if you feel like it is going to be get touched to the 100%, and there is a time you have to identify which is not useful for you and close it. If in case you don't do that, system will hangs, you have to restart again, which is simply the time wasting process. Okay. And next on the right hand side, you have volume, battery, and time and date. And but one important thing here is between this volume icon and the battery icon, you can see another icon here. So between the volume and the battery, that icon shows if the network is properly connected to your virtual machine or not. So that shows the network connectivity. If it is showing you exactly the same, network is properly working. If in case that icon is grayed, it's simply grayed out. Or else if the icon is showing you the error marks like a crash mark, which means you have a network connectivity issue for your virtual machine. So you can always observe that if the network is properly working or not from here. So, and remaining are basic options, which is time and date, and battery and volume. So which is just basic general things. We don't have to discuss separately about that. And once the left hand options and the right hand side of the options we discussed. But if you observe on the bottom left, menu is here. Just like how you click on the Windows Start button, here you can click on the menu. And from the menu also you can search and use the applications. All of these applications you can just click and open that. Similar as applications, but good thing is applications is not having a search bar, but the menu is having the search bar. If I want to search for some application, I can directly search and launch it from here. So any application which is already installed, we can directly search from here. And also on the menu, you have switching user and locking the device and power off buttons here also. We have found these options under system here. Under system also, you have these options. And from the menu also, switching user, lock the device, and shut down or turn off the device options are available. So when you want to properly shut down the machine, you can just take help of this. So if I click on that button and see the shutdown, if I click on now, system will get shut down. Clear? Yeah. So I hope everything is properly visible for those who are in the online as well. So on the left hand side, applications, all the install applications are available for you here. Places, which helps you to access the file system, all of the locations on your disk. And next, system, all the preferences, administration, and like it's like a control panel and even switching users, even the user preferences like adding users, deleting users, even to changing the internet settings or the time settings. Everything is possible. Simply all the system operations you can perform from here. Next, you have browser Firefox, and next to it we have the terminal. So made terminal, and next to it Pluma text editor. So these are similar, like it's like browser Firefox, and instead of your like on the Windows we commonly using Edge or the Chrome browser. Here the Firefox browser is available for us. Next, the terminal is like your command prompt, and we will take help of it here. Next, Pluma text editor is also available for us. It's like similar as a Notepad and other application VS Codium, which is not useful for us. I'm just removing it from the tools panel. I removed it. So these three only we will be using it. So on the right hand side, the basic settings like volume, battery, timestamp, time and date. And between here, between the volume and the battery icon, you can see the network icon. From there, you can observe if there is any network issue or if it is properly working or not. And if you come here to the bottom left side menu, which will helps you to search for any installed applications, and the installed application, you can directly access that from here. And here also you have switching user, lock the device, and shut down. So this is all the basic options that you have on the home screen. Now open the terminal. Everyone now open the terminal. So now after opening the terminal, first thing, how to adjust the font size. So now if you see here, it might look like very small, and I can actually increase and decrease the size. And the shortcut here that you can use Control Shift, hold the Control and Shift, and then plus icon. Control Shift plus will helps you to increase the font size. Control Shift plus. So this is the maximum size. So till this size you can increase. And if you feel like it is too big, you can decrease as well. You can reduce the size. So reducing, control and minus symbol. Actually, this control shift plus and minus, when you're using control shift plus and minus, on the dedicated number pad, if you try to use it, will not work. Just next to the backspace on your keyboard, On the left side of the backspace, you will get plus and minus symbols, right? That minus and plus you will have to use now. Control Shift plus, Control minus. While reducing the size, you don't have to use a shift, just Control and minus. Control Shift plus, Control minus. It's not working. Mistake that you did, observe here. I'm explaining you only. The mistake you did did not keep your mouse cursor inside of this utility. Your mouse cursor was outside and trying the shortcut, and it's not going to work. So you should be inside of this utility and then use your shortcut. So Control Shift plus and Control minus. So now adjust the size for your comfortable, whichever you will feel comfortable, just adjust the size to it. Now let's understand what exactly you have here. It's showing you which user, what system we are currently working. So it's telling that user is working at the Parrot. User is the current username, and whatever username you have set at the time of installation, it will show it to you. I used my username as user only, just user itself. So user at Parrot. User is working at the Parrot host. And this tilde, tilde. So whatever you call it. So the wave symbol that you see, that indicates the home location of the current logged in user. Simply we call it user's home location. The current user, your home location, which means user is operating in his home location. And this dollar symbol indicates user is a logged in user. This user is a logged in one user. Okay. So any of the logged in users, even the default, or if you have added more other users, any user that they have logged in, it will show the dollar symbol. So now let's start. Like if I want to ask, say it's already there which user you are, but you can still ask your system, who am I? So it's going to show you current user, the name of the current user, and then what exactly the host that I'm operating. The computer name, we also call it as the host name. And the command host name can be simply used. And this host name or the computer name is Parrot. And next, I want to know which location I'm in. It's like a where am I, but the command is print working directory or present working directory. It's like asking which location I'm currently operating. So the location which you're currently in, it will show it to you like this. So in any location that you're in, if you just ask your system, it is going to show you the location which you're operating. Present working directory, also it is known as print working directory. And next, I'm inside of so-and-so location here, but I'm just very curious to know what are the files inside. If there are any files, Ashley, I can just ask my system to list out the files. If I just use the command ls, meaning is list. I'm asking my system to list the files in the current location. I did not mention the current location, but as I have not mentioned any location, it will take it as current location. When you don't mention any location, it will take it as the current location. It's simply telling that the files that are in the current location. So you can see the files named as desktop, downloads, pictures, templates, documents, music, public, videos. So these are the files, but actually based on the names, if you properly observe, these specific names were very commonly used for the folders, right? But I'm calling them as the files. The reason is on the Linux, everything is a file. So on the Linux, everything is a file. So all of these, yes, technically they are folders only, but folder is also a type of the file. But here, when it comes to the Linux system, we don't call them as the folders. We call them as the directories. Directory. So directory and folder, both the terminologies indicates the same. But folder will be used commonly on the Windows systems, the name folder. And when it comes to Linux systems, we use the name directory. Meaning is the same. And now I'm saying all of these files are directories. But how can you convey that? Instead of the ls command, add -l to it, ls space -l. This additional l, you're telling that list all the files in the long listing format. Long list. This long list will be giving you the additional details, that the file permissions and what type of file it is, and even which user and the group it belongs to, timestamps and the file size and the name of the file. So if you see, these are the names, and the file names are exactly the same. Whatever file names you're seeing here, the same file names you can see even for ls space -l as well. So the file names that you see here, the same names you can see here as well. But additionally, in the long listing format, the details of the file also will be shown to you. And from this file, this line. So this line indicates the file permissions and also what type of file it is. So if the file permissions line, it is starting with the letter D, that means the file is a directory. If the file is not a directory, instead of the D, it will show you dash. You can see some dashes here, right? So similarly, this type of dash, you will see in the place of D also. Only for the directories, you will see the letter D, and non-directories, that could be any other file, that could be a text file, PHP file, even JPG file, and all of those are not the directories. So they will not have the letter D here at the starting. And next, after the letter D, in the remaining all of the part will be representing the file permissions. What are the permissions that the users are having on this file? And here this one indicates the hard links to the file system. The file, how many hard links it is having to the file system, and which user and which group this file belongs to. So this is user and user named user and group named user. So that is where it belongs to. Next, the file size. Size of the file, and this is what timestamp. Timestamp. So the time and the date, it indicates the last written time, the last modified or last written time of the file. And finally, the name of the file. So the information you have for every file here. So you will easily know that what exactly the size of the file and which user it belongs to, and when it is created or modified, and additionally the permissions as well. So that is the difference between ls and ls space -l.
I'm not getting the information of the file. I'm directory.
It's
I'm
not
just
ls
getting.
space. Yes, I know that. I think you typed ls space -1.
Is it?
ls space -l.
Yes.
ls space -l is the command, not 1. Okay.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. So there is the difference between long listing and normal regular listing. Okay. So now we have got some files and we identified all of these files are directories. If it is a directory, definitely we can enter inside to check and know what are the other files available there. So that is where you will take help of the command cd. Change directory. I want to change the directory. An example, I want to go to the downloads. I want to change directory inside of the downloads. The downloads is here. So this downloads I want to change. If I try to execute or run the command, I'm going to see the error. And the error is saying that no such file or directory. The directory or the file which I mentioned, it is not existing here. So the reason here is Linux is fully case sensitive. When you're dealing with the files, any files, not only the directories, any file in your file system of the Linux, if you're trying to open, if you're trying to edit, if you're trying to delete or enter, or changing location or copying and moving, every time you have to specify the file and the name of it with exact same cases. Even if you just change one case of the entire name of the file, still it will be considered as a mismatched file. So that is what exactly happening here. And actual file, the documents, you can see where the starting letter D is in capitals, but I typed the same name, but the D is in the small letters. So that is the difference. And if I just change it, it's going to work. When I just changed and corrected the cases, it's going to work. And I have successfully entered inside the downloads directory. No error, and the operation has successfully executed. Done. So again, if you want to see and check if there are any files, giving ls is possible, but it is showing you no files. And we already know that, right? This downloads directory is having 0 bytes. It's empty directory. That's why it's showing you nothing. So if in case there are any files, you will definitely get the files listed. You have entered the downloads directory now, and you want to come back. When you want to come back a directory, coming back through a directory, you will take help of the command cd space dot dot. So dot dot indicates I want to come back. So you're back to the till location again. If you just observe here, we were at tilde and entered cd downloads, and you can see the change in the path. And when I use cd space dot dot and I came back to the tilde, which means if you just observe here, you don't have to take help of the command pwd, which I have shown you here. So the pwd, without taking help of it, it is always showing you the path where you're operating. Okay. And next, I'm back to the till symbol now. I'm in till location, which is the home location of the user. There are already some files, but I want to create another new file. If you try the graphical user interface, just like how you will do in the Windows, you can do that. So just like in your Windows system, how we will do through the graphical user interface, here also possible, but through the command line interface, how we can do that. And the command is touch. Touch is the command helps you to creating of a new file. And I want to create a file with my name. I want to create a file with my name. You can just give any name. So instead of my name, you can just use any name. So with that name, a file will be created. But interesting thing here is, if I just use the touch and I want to create the file with the same name, but I change the cases, both the files will be created. This is something not possible on the Windows, but on the Linux, just by changing just any one letter case also, you can create multiple files with the same name. So I used my name but changed the cases and 2 files has created. And similarly, I can just change other cases to create multiple files. And you can see the color difference. Directories will be following blue color, and other than the directories, especially the text files are the PHP files, like any file with text content will be using this color yellowish. And this color code don't stick with this reason. Not every Linux follows the color code. I'm just talking in terms of the Parrot. Parrot will be following this color code, but not every Linux will follow this. So, but this technique will work on every Linux. You created a file, and if you just do the long listing now, see the difference. These 2 files are not having the first letter D. Okay. Remaining files having the first letter D means that is a directory, but the other 2 files which we created, they are not directories, they are just normal files. So we have we have created a file. What if you want to open the file? So if you want to just open inside the terminal, you will take help of command cat. Cat stands for catalog. Cataloging is nothing but displaying. I'm just asking the Linux to catalog the file content. Which file you want to catalog? Cat space file name. And of course, it will show you nothing. Reason, these 2 files which we created also 0 bytes. These files are having no content. So it's showing you just empty, blank. But it is not showing you any error. If you see here, no error means the command has executed, but there is nothing to show you. So this is one way of opening any of the file within the terminal. But what if I want to take help of some external utility? We have observed one text editor here named Pluma. Pluma is the text editor. And if you want to take help of the Pluma to open a file, I can do that. Pluma space, which file you want to open now. And this is the file I want to open. So to use a file, here is one shortcut. See, manually you can always type. You can just type manually, but what if you want to make it faster? So the file name of the file, just give double click on it. When you give double click on the file name, it is highlighted. The highlighted part you can copy paste. Shortcut is Control Shift C, Control Shift V. So just like we use Control C, Control V here, inside the terminal, you will add the shift also. Control Shift C, Control Shift V for copy paste. Just you adding the shift to it, that's it. Only inside the terminal. Outside the terminal, Control C, Control V only. So similar way, you can just copy paste any content inside the terminal. And now we are taking help of the file name. And once I hit enter, now see here, Pluma is opened and the Pluma is showing you which file it is. The file named Narayana is opened with Pluma. So this is the file open, but the file is having no content. So it's showing you nothing. And if you just close the Pluma, you will come back to the terminal again. And this close, minimize, maximize buttons are on the left top. These are not on the right top. Like just on the Windows, we have close, minimize, maximize on the right top corner. But here, left top corner. Here you have minimize, maximize, and close for any utility that you open inside the Parrot. So these are 2 different ways. This is the command line way of using it. and opening a file, and this is with help of some graphical tool named Pluma. And not every Linux will have the Pluma. Here we have the Pluma text editor. And on the other Linux, you have to identify what is the text editor it is using. Some Linux will be having like similar as Pluma, LeafPad, Mousepad, some other utilities also there. So just have to mention the name of the text editor and the file name. Okay. So next, we have just opened the file, but you can see there is no file content. I want to save something in there. So you open just with help of the Pluma, right? You can manually type something and save the file and close. That is one way. But what if you don't have any graphical utility? Through the command line interface only you want to save. There are multiple ways, and also the cat is not only the command that you can use within the command line interface. There are like lots of editors like VIA editors and nano editors and all. So that if you take help, they will also help you in opening and also editing the file and save it. But here, if you just want to go with the simplest way, I'll show you one technique with help of a command named echo. If I just type echo space hello, it's going to print the hello. So which means for the command echo, whatever you type, the same thing it will print. So that is what exactly echo meaning is. You might already familiar with sound echoing, right? Similarly here, whatever you type, the same thing will be printed. But this echo, if I just add some operator, the output operator, I can just take the information, whatever printing here, I can just take it and save it to a file. Something like echo, this is a demo text one, this some content I want to save. So now if I hit enter, it's going to print this one, but I don't want this information to be printed. I want the output, the printing information, like the result, whichever going to be gets printed. I want to save that to a file. And I'm simply taking help of the greater than for outputting operator. It's like take the output and write it out to a file. So greater than symbol and which file you want to use, the file name. There you go. So if I just hit enter, it is success. And if you want to check if it is really success or not, use the cat command. So this content has been saved to the file that we specified that you can verify with help of the cat command. And instead of this is a demo text one, you can even change it to anything else. Have you tried it? Is it working? Now, what if I want to save some other information to it? I'm just using the echo and just change the text one to the text two. So I want to add this one to the file. I can do that. But if you use the cat again, text1 has been replaced by the text2. What exactly happening here is when you use the operator greater than, will output the content, will saves the output of the content to your file, but the previously available or stored content, whatever you have there, it will gets overwritten. The previously stored content will gets overwritten. Got it? So, but if you don't want to happen that, so that is also possible when you don't want the information to be gets overwritten. Instead of using the greater than for once, you'll have to use it for twice. The difference between greater than and double greater than here, greater than is outputting and double greater than is appending. So it's simply going to add to the previously existing content. So this is how you can use it. If you're okay with replacing, then greater than sufficient. If you're not okay with replacing, then use double greater than. So whatever commands I'm showing you here, just give it a try once. You see, like first when I'm explaining, these commands will definitely looks easier, but when when we try to use by our own, so recalling them will be very difficult. You cannot remember all of that easily if in case you're using it for the first time. Okay. So if you're just using the Linux for the first time, so remembering and recalling when it is required, it is very difficult. So that's why just to do it by your own. So when you just try with your own hands, you will be able to remember much more easier. So all that required here, just you have to get used to it so that you can easily remember all of that. Yes, Anirudh, so every time that you use it, it's going to be added in the next line. So it's simply considering like even if it is having 100 lines already there, all the previously 100 lines is pre-existing content, and then you're adding 4 lines next, and the 4 lines are the new content. It's going to be added in the next line. The 4 lines from the next line it will gets added. Done. So I hope everyone has tried so far. Do you need to repeat any commands? Well done. See, we just created 2 files. Hope you remember that we created 2 files, but I just saved some content in only one file, and other file I did not save anything. If in case you tried on both the files, then it is fine. But in this scenario, what if I have a file with some content and other file with no content, but I want to copy the same content to the other? Copying or moving or even deleting and copying from one location to the different location. So how it will work? So for copying, now I'm copying the file content from this one to the other one. So cp is the command, cp space the file, the first whatever you're mentioning, the file is a source file. With a space, specify the other file, that is destination file. I'm telling the Linux to copy the file content of the file 1 to the file 2. Source, first file is source and second file is destination. Done. Now if we just long list one more time, see before the copying, one file is 0 bytes and other file is 44 bytes. If I just do the long list again, both the files having the same size. Reason simply we copied the same content, so same size both will be. Okay. And just like the copying, you also have the option to moving. Moving is like the command is mv and it is like cut paste. So copy is like a copy paste and moving is like a cut and paste. So copy paste and cut paste. Now the source file will be completely moved to the destination. And now if you see here, once it is successful, the source file will not be existing. Reason it is permanently moved to the destination location here. So before we doing the moving, you can see source destination both. But I moved the source file to the here to the destination, and the destination file is now available, but the source file is not available. That is what cut and paste. It's like you want to permanently move a file. That is where you will take help of moving operation. And one more useful way of using moving here is this can even be helpful for you in renaming the files. For an example, I'm just giving the name file1, destination file as file1, but this file1 is not even existing in our current location. But still the moving is possible, which means I'm telling the Linux to move the file Narayana to the file1. But file1 in the destination, it is not available, but it is going to create the file1 to move this content. So which means that is what it is going to make as renaming, right? The previously the file name is now renamed to the file1. And it will still be having the same content. You can even use the cat command to check. Simply you have renamed it.
Previously you added MV Narayana and Narayana. No, that thing can you show a little bit?
There you have. I have two files here if you observe. You should be having two files. So just observe, and at the very initially I have shown you two files with help of the command touch, but I changed the cases. Name is same, but cases are different. And on these two files, I've shown you the command echo, which is to save some content. After saving of the content is done, I'm now showing you the copying CP, you can see. So file1 to the file2, copying is done. And then if you want to move MV file1 to the file2. But the difference between copy and the moving. So copy is like making a duplicate copy of it, and moving is like a cut and pasting. So once you cut and paste, the source file will not be existing. You can see that here. Only destination is available, but the source will not be available in your current location. And after that, the same operation can even be used for renaming it. So the file which I have here, I'm moving again, but destination I mentioned as a different file name. So it's simply going to move and create it as a new file with the name file1 that you can see here, and the file1 is existing and content is still the same. The file content is still the same. So now here is one important interesting command. Whatever commands that I have run here and whatever commands you have run in your terminal, every command will be saved temporarily in the history. So all the commands are here. So once you just type the command to history, command history will show you all of the commands that we have used. So just observe here if you have missed any command here, command from the list. Done. So now this copying and moving, not only you can do in the same location. I'll just show you some other different ways of using it. The file which I have here, I want to copy it or else move it, but not in the same location, to a different location. So for an example, I want to copy this file. So one of its duplicate copy I want to create and save it on the desktop location and with the name new file. So what exactly happening here is cp copying and file one, the file which you have in your current location. But I want to copy this file to the desktop. But how? Yes, you can. So, but how do you specify the desktop? So you have to identify where the desktop is existing. The desktop is existing inside of the tilde location. So we are specifying tilde slash desktop, and inside of the desktop with the name new file. So the same file one will be saved with this name. And if you want to check, go here, the new file is ready. And if you open the new file, the same content is also available. It's access. So copying it to a different location. So I'm copying this file. If in case you did not get, just observe here. I'm copying this file to a different location. So the file one, you can always see we are specifying the source and the destination. And you must understand where do you have your source and where do you want to save it as a destination. So the source, the file I have in my current location. So this file one that is in my current location, I will directly specify that. After I'm specifying, take a space and start typing the destination location. And I want to save it on the desktop. I want to copy it on the desktop. But where do we have the desktop location available? Desktop is a folder or the directory. So desktop is a directory inside of the tilde. So that is what I'm telling here, tilde slash desktop. That meaning is desktop is inside of the tilde. And then inside of the desktop, I want to save this file with the name new file. It is done success. After once it is done, if you go to your desktop and the file is now ready. And this file you can actually remotely open as well. Cat and copy paste the path. So I'm just asking the Linux to open, catalog the file which is available on the desktop with the name new file. So the same file content you can see. And similarly, you want to move this file. I have a file. Now we already have this file on the desktop. I want to move this file to the documents. So documents is also inside of the tilde location only. So source file location and then destination. If I don't specify anything after documents, with the same name, it will be saved here. But if I just type another name, so when I give and when I specify a name, it is going to use a different name. If you don't specify a name, it's going to use the same name of the actual file. Now, as we have moved on the desktop, it will not be available. So the new file is not available on the desktop. But if you go there and check on the documents, it is available. So moving and also copying in different location. So previously the basic ways that how to move and copy in your current location, but from a different location, the files which you have, how can you move it or copy it? is done. Next, we created all of, like copying, pasting, and creating everything on the normal files, but we did not do anything with the directories, if you observe. So first we'll talk about the directories, how we can create them. Touch command will not help you in creating the directory. Instead, we have the command mkdir, make directory. So make directory and the directory name. I want to create a directory with the name dir1. And if you see here, a directory with the name dir1 is created. Now I want to create another directory, but inside of it. And if you observe here, so I'm just specifying that make a directory inside of dir1 with the name dir2. So that will also be done. No error means it is success. If the path is really existing, you should be able to switch in there. Change the directory is success. You can see the path. So we are making or creating a directory. And creating the directory is one inside the other. Without you entering the location also possible.
It says that cannot create directory dir or -1 or /dir2, no such file or directory.
First, you need to create directory 1 and then go for dir2. Try this
Okay.
one first.
Oh.
Without creating the base directory, how can you go for the other directory inside of it? Is it working now? So after this, yeah, we have entered two different directories. If you observe, I created the directories for 2 times, but one inside the other. And if you want to enter a directory, we use cd command, right? Cd, it's not just be used for entering one directory at a time. If you see here, I'm specified 2 directories. If the path is really existing, even if I specify 3 or 4 directories also, it can change inside in just one go. So I entered 2 directories in just one go. In just a go, it has entered 2 directories. Okay. Now, if you want to come back, the command already have shown you cd space dot dot. But now we have entered 2 directories. You'll have to run the cd space dot dot for twice. So that will work. But if you want to do it faster, cd space dot dot slash and dot dot slash. Every time you using dot dot slash, that indicates you want to come back one directory. If I use dot dot slash for 4 times means I want to come back 4 directories. 5 times means I want to come back 5 directories. So that is what the meaning is. So I'm inside of the 2 directories from the tilde location. From the tilde location, I'm inside of the 2 directories. So I want to come back 2 directories so that I will reach back to the tilde again. So this is how we can use the command. I'm back to the tilde. And one more thing here, I want to enter the location again. So I'm not going to type the command again. And here is a shortcut. All of the commands are stored temporarily in the file system of the Linux, right? I mean, like in your Linux system, of the terminal commands are stored. You just have to use the navigation up and down. If you use the up arrow, all the previous commands will be shown to you. And down arrow, you can just move through all the used commands. Whatever commands you already have used here, go through them. And I want to use this command again. I don't have to type. If I already have used the command before, I can reuse it. I can reuse the command, and I'll just show you another way. If I want to come back, I've shown you this way to come back through the directory. But what if I just use the command cd? Cd command will also help you to come back to the tilde location. But the difference here is cd will take you to the home location even if you're inside of the 100 directories also. When you are in a random location, you want to come back to the home, simple cd command will take you back to the home location. But cd space dot dot slash this technique, for an example, for suppose you are inside of 5 directories, you want to come back only 2 directories. You're inside of 10 directories, you want to come back 6 directories. So that is where cd space dot dot slash technique will helps you. And whatever location you're in, that doesn't matter. You just want to come back to the home location and then cd command, simple cd. Clear? And next, we created the directories and we created some files as well. If you want to delete any of the file or the directory, how can we do that? And actually, one more thing, if you want to copy the directories, move the directories, the same commands, whatever I've shown you, how we copied and saved and copied and moved the normal files. Similarly, directories also can be copied and moved. Okay,
Yeah.
so you don't have to separately use that. But now deleting of the files.
Hello.
Yes,
Yeah, we have created one directory inside another directory, right?
yes,
Then if we type ls, will it show? It will show only directory one, right?
yes,
Then how
yes.
can we check whether directory two is inside directory one or not?
You have to enter in there. You did not create directory 1, directory 2 in the same location, right? This directory 1 and directory 2, you did not save in a same location. You saved one inside the other.
Yeah.
If you enter the directory 1 and if you give ls, directory 2 is available, right? So without we doing all of this, as we already know, there is directory 2 really existing inside the directory 1. In that cases, you can directly use the command cd directory 1 slash directory 2. You will directly going in this location. If the directory 2 is not even existing at all, if it is not even existing at all and it is not going, it's actually going to show you the error. Directory 2 is, I mean, there is no such file or directory. That is what it is going to show you there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So now deleting of the files and the directories. Deletion will be little different for the files and the directories. If I want to delete a file, just rm command. Rm is to remove, which will help you in performing the deletion operation. And rm a file. Don't try this on the system directories, just try on your files, like whatever we created, the directories and the normal files. If in case you don't have a normal file, create another new file using touch command. If you take help of the touch command, you can create a file and rm to delete the file. So now all of these commands are clear. Have you tried removing any error? But if you try to use the rm command on the directory, if you try to delete a directory with help of rm command, it will not work. So now he can see the reason. It is like dir1 cannot remove reason is a directory, which means rm can only delete the normal files, not the directories. But we have the command similar as mkdir. So just like how we can make the directories, you can remove them with help of rmdir. Remove directory, and the directory name is directory1. But if you're still getting the issue, and the reason is already mentioned here, rmdir can delete the directories, but when they are empty. It's saying the directory is not empty. So this can only delete a directory if it is empty. But if it is not empty, you know that it's already containing some other directory inside. In that cases, rmdir also cannot delete that. So that's where you can take help of rm space -r and then directory name. This time no error, deletion is successful. Got the difference? Rm is to remove normal files. rmdir is to delete the directories when they are empty. And the third command, rm space -r, can delete even the directories with some file content. Files are the other contents. Still you can delete that. But what is this additional -r? This -r meaning is recursiveness. Recursiveness is like is simply telling your system, consider everything as a normal file. Now simply telling your Linux system, directory1 is a normal file. If you're saying directory1 is a normal file, rm can delete the normal files, right? So that is what recursiveness will do.
What does recursiveness do?
Recursiveness will makes everything is a normal file. So this recursiveness simply making the system is considering everything is a file. Like means whatever I'm telling that this dir1, it is a directory, we know that. But recursiveness will makes that directory1 is also a file. So that file will be deleted with help of the rm command. Done. So there are a lot of commands we have used so far. If you type history, it will show you. But now one more interesting thing here is this history, whatever commands we have used, I want to save all of the commands. So once you tried these commands, and then all of these commands will be saved in your terminal, and that you can save. And I definitely suggest you to save the history to your file. The reason is when you restart your system, there is no guarantee history will be available. So when you restart, history will get wiped out. So just if you save the history, it will be permanently available for you. So history space -w means write out. I want to write out all the history output to your file. If you want to save it in the current location, you can do that, or else you can just take help of a different path. I'm just going to save all of the history like. So on the desktop, create a folder named CAH and then save a file named day2 inside of that. Now if you go to the desktop, desktop CAH. Yeah, now it's available. So we did not created the CAH directory, right? So that's why it was not working. On the desktop, the directory named CAH is available, and the text file day2, if I open, the entire history is available. All the commands has been saved. So the CAH directory is not existing. That's why it did not work. Do this. Make the directory named CAH and then save your history with a file named day2 inside of it. So use this mkdir and then go for history writing out. So once it is done, you can even open this from here also, not only in the graphical user interface. You can just open it with help of the Pluma text editor and check all of the history line by line. Is it working? Say actually ignore these two commands. I just have checked if it is working or not. Ignore these two commands. So by ignoring these two commands, just try these three, sufficient. So make the directory and save the history and open the file. Yes, the move command is same, Anirudh. MV. So copying and moving the command whichever I've shown you before with the files and the directories also, it will works with the same command. Done, clear? So next. So if you see here, like someone just asked me that how to move a directory. So copying and moving, just like how we copied the files, it will work. But only one condition here. If I just want to copy the directory CAH from the desktop to the documents. And instead of copying, if you just use MV, it's going to work. But only on one condition. If the CAH directory is empty, directly it will work. If the CAH directory is having some other files, then you have to add the recursiveness again. That's it. Success. So recursiveness should be added if the directory containing some other files. If the directory is empty, just like this, you can try this. Now, if you go to the documents, so from the places, I'll go to the documents and see here, CAH directory is available. And if you use the recursiveness, the advantage is the directories, whatever files it is containing, all the files also will be moved with the directory, not only just the directory. That is what the recursiveness will do. Done. So now, all this time we are just operating inside of the tilde location. But tilde also will be representing a specific path, right? And we call it as the home location of the current logged in user. But what is the home location? /home/user. So /home/user, the meaning is user is a directory inside of the home directory. So that means we are not on the starting point of the Linux. We're inside of a certain location of the Linux system, but we are not at the starting point. But where exactly the Linux file system will start? And what are the other files we have in there? And why are we starting only from here? Why not from a different location? So if you just go back, so there are two directories, right? If I just use cd space .. // I will go back through the user and home to the starting point. That is /. / represents the starting point of the Linux file system. You will be reaching to the starting level of the Linux. And what are the files we have here? If we just give ls, all the files available you can see, and we are inside of the home location. That is just one folder among all of the multiple here. But all this time we are operating here. The home location, the name itself is saying home, right? It's like home place for all the logged in users. If there is only one logged in user or 100 logged in users, everyone will be operating inside of the home location. So that's the reason we are by default getting the home location to operate on the file system. But what if I try come behind the home location? Actually, it is possible, you can see, but you will not have the full permissions. The logged in users will not have the full permissions here. He will only have the read permissions. If he wants to create a file or delete a file or execute or remove a file or copy paste, everything like writing operations or execution operations will not be permittable. That will all not be permittable here. So I'm going to show you. If I want to create a file here in this location, see, permission denied. I want to create the file inside the / location, but permission is denied. So why it is not allowing? And if I'm not able to do that, who can do it? Do this here. Okay. So before we talk about that, now let's just understand the other files and what purpose the files will be used. And we call it as the Linux file system. And it is standard for any Linux. I'll just show you a simple picture here. There you go. It is a standard file system of the Linux. The folders that you're seeing here are the same you can see here as well. The file system of the Linux, and every folder that you see here will be containing a certain type of the information. The first location, bin, binaries, essential user command binaries. The meaning is like we will be typing and using a lot of commands, right? I'm typing ls command, ls -l, and cp command. So these are all the alphabets, English alphabets, and computers, as we all know that they only understand the binary data. But how will it able to respond back for the command cat, for the command ls or anything? It's because of all the binary data of each and every command has been already stored here in the bin directory. So if I type ls command, it will get converted to its binary and it will show me the information. So bin will stores the command, the user command binaries, essential user command binary data, and then etc to store the configuration files. If you install some service or some application or a program, the configuration information will be stored here. Next, SBIN, essential system binaries. This is also the binary data, but essential system binaries means some disk information or networking information or rebooting, restarting, that a boot menu, that essential system binaries will be stored here. And /user, read only user application support data and binaries. This meaning is the user application data and the binary information. On my system, I don't have the Chrome browser. Let's assume I don't have the Chrome browser, but I installed as a user. So that is what a user application. And if there is any binary data for the user applications, that will be available and stored inside the user. So user installed programs and user installed applications, that related respective binary data will be stored here. Next, var /var variable data files. Here, all the application cache data and the libraries and even some logged files for tracking the resources, and even logs and log files and logs as well, system logs, and var opt, which means variable data for install packages. So all of the variable data is available here. And many people will be asking like default location of Linux logs, and inside of the var only, logs also will be stored. And next, and now if you see under user also, there are some subdirectories. So I'm just talking about the main directories, and of course, like almost every single main directory will have some subdirectories as well. And after the var, you can see dev, device files, including null, including del, a device null, and home means home location for all the logged in users. Any of the logged in user will be operating inside of this. Lib, libraries, and kernel modules. MNT, mount files for temporary file system. Mounting. OPT means optional software applications. And proc, processes. All the network processes or system processes information will be available here. And finally, you can see the root. It's a home location for the root user. And here is a separate home location for a user named root. And the same user you can see just next to the slash. The meaning is root is a user who can control the complete file system. And the question which I asked, who will have the full permissions here in the slash? He is root, and you can see the root's home location. But why root can do that? Why don't you can? So it's for the security reason. If everyone can just do anything, like even the logged in user also can do anything, if the device has been hacked, hacker can control the complete system and entire file system and the information. So not to happen this logged in users will be having the limited permissions, so that loss will be minimal if the system has been hacked. So that's why root will not be always allowed you to log in, and not will always be allowed you to operate as. But if you want to become the root, you can. If I want to become the root, we can do that. We can simply do the switching user. So some cases, if I want to complete some system operations as a logged in user, I cannot do that. I have to switch to the root, something like to add a user or delete a user or change the password for a user, even any networking related. And some of the tools also does requires a root privilege. So at that time, we will try to switch to the root user, but we will not always log in as the root. We will log in as the logged in user only, and then we'll try to switch to the root user. But how can we do this? So the root to switch, any user to switch on the Linux system command is su. Su stands for switch user. And then username. I want to switch to the user root. Switch user to root. If I just run it, it will ask me for the password. But this password for the root, we don't know about that, right? We did not create the root user. So when we did not create the root user, definitely the password will not have any control over it. So root user is a system generated user. And of course, his password also will be generated by the system only, which we cannot retrieve. If in case you thinking the password will be the same as the logged in user, if you try to type the logged in user password, it will show you the authentication failure. And when you're typing the password, it will show you nothing. In the terminal, when you're typing the password, just type it correctly, but it will show you nothing. If you see it showing empty, but doesn't mean I did not type anything. I typed my password, but inside the terminal, especially while you're typing the passwords, it will not display anything, not even with dots or not even with hashtags. So that is also one of the security feature here. Just type the password correctly, but the password for the logged in user will not work for the root user. So which meaning is root user password is different from the logged in user. But we don't know what exactly the root user password is. But still I want to become the root user. So that is where we will take help of a command named sudo. Sudo space su space root. I'm using the previous sudo, and the command su means switch user, and the user named root. So what is the sudo meaning is? Sudo stands for super user do. Super user do. And su, we already know that. Switch user. And which user you want to switch root. It's like super user to do a task for you. You're asking the super user to do a task. The task is switch user to the root. You're simply asking the root to switch to the root. And when you try to run this command, you will still be asked to enter the password. You can see that here. But this time the password is not for the root. This password is for the logged in user. This logged in user password, we already know that. If you just type the password and run, you will successfully become the root user now. Done. Is it working? After successfully switching to the root user, you can see change in the username. You can observe from user to the root, we have switched. And next, while you're operating as the logged in user, you can see the dollar symbol. And when you switch to the root, you will see the hash symbol. Hash symbol represents you are a root user. Dollar symbol, logged in users. Okay. And then we're on the slash location, which is a starting point of the Linux. But as we have discussed, root can control the entire file system, but still he's having his own home location separately. All the logged in user slash home is the home location, and slash root is the home location for the root. If you want to go to the root's home location, use the cd command. Now we can see the tilde symbol. If you check what is the tilde representing now, that is slash root. And tilde represents home location of the current user. Now the current user is root, right? So the root home location it is showing you. If you switch to a different user, and that user home location will be different, and you will be observing that for the tilde. But now, what exactly the sudo did here? When you tried adding sudo to the switch user command, so what exactly the magical power the sudo is having? So it's very simple that on the Linux system, there will be definitely one root user, and then some other users, like mostly the first logged in users, whoever is the primary and the first logged in user, will be having additional privilege called sudoer. Sudoer is nothing but the user who can use the sudo command. The sudo command is nothing less than the root. If you just add sudo to any operation, just like the root, you will also be able to perform that. But not everyone can use the sudo. When I tried adding sudo, it is asking me for my password. So why it is asking for the password? The reason is, it's very simple. It is checking if you're sudoer or not, if you're authorized to use sudo command or not. Not everyone can use a sudo. The one who can use a sudo, we call them as the sudoers. It is simply validating that if you're the sudoer or not. So after you giving the password correctly, it is simply allowing you to go and switch and continue completing the operation. Okay. But this sudo privilege will not be provided for everyone. If I add one new user now, the added new user will not have the sudo privilege. And the current and the default logged in user is having sudo privilege. If I want to remove the sudo privilege, I can do that. If I want to sudo privilege to a different user, I can do that. By default, the primary logged in user will have the sudo privilege, and other additionally added users will not be having this privilege. But the sudo privilege can always be changed to any user, and also it can be removed as well. So which means in this system we have two users now, root and sudoer, and the sudoer is the logged in user and the root is a system user. Clear? I'll show you the file if you want to add one other user. So first I'll show you how to add the system, how to add logged in users to the system. And then after that, I'll show you if you want to edit the sudo permissions to another user. Okay. First, we'll now talk about switching back to the default user. And if I want to switch back to the logged in user, just su and the username. But it is not asking for the password. Root does not require to authenticate himself. Root, we call him as a super user. So root, the super user meaning is he can do anything, everything on a file system of a Linux. So which means when I was the root, even if I want to delete the system files, or even if I want to create a file or execute a file or move a file, everything is possible. But as all of these are system files, I did not show you anything, but it is possible. So we call root as a super user. And when as the root is super user, if he wants to switch to the other user account also, he can do that. He does not require the password. He can switch to any other user account. Like in the corporate organizations, how it will works here is the system admin will be having the control over all of the user accounts. If he wants to log into any user, like for an example, normal employees, like 100 employees are there, 100 user accounts are there, and they will not be having the sudo privilege. So the logged in users will not have sudo privilege. Only the root user, who is administrator, can control all of them. If he wants to change their password, if they want to edit their permissions or delete the user accounts, everything root can do that as an administrator. And for doing it, he does not need the password of the logged in users as well. Okay. Now, after we switch back to the logged in user, we'll just try to add some other logged in users to our system. So try this as a logged in user, not as a root. I'll explain why. So the command is add user, adding of the users. I want to add a new user to my system. We found and we just identified that there are two users, one sudoer, one root user. Root is system user and sudoer is the logged in user. And now I want to add more other logged in users to my system. And command is add user and what name you want to use. So just use any name, but Linux username should be containing new should be containing the alphabets in small letters. And if you want to add the numericals, you can do that. This is also optional, but you cannot use special characters and capital letters in the usernames. Small letters and numericals you can use to use in the usernames of the Linux. I want to create a new user with my name. Add a new user to this system with my name. Command is add user only, but when you try to run, it's not giving any syntax error. It is simply telling that only root may add user or the group to the system. So the system operations when you want to perform, so you should be the root, but you don't have to switch to the root always. As you are the sudo here, you can just add the sudo to it. Which means either you can switch to the root, but if you feel like why to switch to the user and switching back, it is all hectic. And if you feel like that, and then you can just add the sudo command to the same operation. This time it will be completed. Operation will be completed this time. For which command? No. Just check the syntax once. Once you have started running the command by adding the sudo, it is asking for the sudo password, which is to confirm that you are a sudo here. Just give the logged in user password first if it is asking. If in case it is not asking for the sudo password, you can ignore that. And now it is asking and I'll hit enter. Then once after it's confirmed that I'm the sudo here, it has started adding the user. So it's adding the user and adding the group and assigning the IDs, and home directory, a folder inside the home directory is getting created, and then copying the configurations to the etc directory. Now it is asking you to set a new password for this user. Whatever password I want to use for this user, I can type here and retype for the confirmation. So now we can see password updated successfully. After you have updated the password, it is asking for additional details. So it will ask the user details like a full name and even the work mobile number, so and so details it will ask, which is optional. If you just use enter button, you can skip that. This is optional thing only. You can skip. And finally, it is asking, is the information correct? Type Y for S. Just type Y for S. user will be added. To skip all of this, use the enter button. That's it. Done. So adding of the user is done. If it is success, I hope no error. No one is facing any error. Okay. So after you have added, let's try to switch to that user. If the user is really added, you can switch to this. If in case user has not properly added, it's going to give you the error at this stage only. So user with this name is not existing on this file system. But now I have successfully added. So I can switch by providing his password. You only configure the password, right? Just type the password for the added user. He will become the added user. And these added users can also log in. So during the login also, you can use this user privilege to log in. But added users will not have the sudo privilege. I'll show you that. If he wants to use the sudo command to switch to the root, it is asking for his password. After giving the password, it will show you that this user is not in the sudoers file. This incident has been reported to the administrator. So yeah, yes, if from this added user, if I switch to the default logged in user, and then I can use a sudo. But in any of the work domain, if there are 10 user accounts, the normal users will not be having the sudo or password, right? Say you are the owner of the system, you know the sudo or password, and you know the logged in added user passwords. But now on a server, I created 10 accounts and I provided one user account for you. And you will only be knowing your user account, username and password every time you can log in. But if you try to switch to the sudo, you cannot. Means your user privilege has been limited there. So even if someone hacked your user account, so other user information will not get affected. Yeah. So now if this added user wants to become the root, there is only one way. Either he should get the root password. Even the sudo also don't know the password. So how this user will get it? And other thing is, he has to get the password of the sudo to use the sudo privilege. So that is the way he can become the root. And if there is no possibility for that, he can never be the root user. So now for now anyhow, we know the sudo on our system, but it is something not always possible out there. So as we know, we can just switch to the sudo. So for now, just switch back to the sudo. But here, what I'm going to show you, just observe here, don't try this. So reason adding of the multiple sudoers to a system is not recommended. But if in case it is really needed for you to give sudo permissions to this added user, how can you do that? So I'll show you one easiest way. All of the sudo information will be available in this location. So in the default location, etc sudoers, I'm showing this for you only, you asked the question. So how to edit the sudo permission, so for you only. Okay, so by simply opening the specific location using any text editor, even any editors, not only the graphical one, just open the file, and on the file On this file, you can just like what you see in the root. If I just add in the next line, change this root name to the added user. That's it. Copy paste this line, but in the place of root, change it to the added user. If I save the file and close it, now I'll show you. If I switch to the added user, now this added user also can use the root privilege. Got it? We have added the sudo privilege to this added user. So that is how additionally we can add any logged in added users also to the sudo list, but which is really a big risk for the security and also information of the system. So it is something not recommended to do, but if you really want to do, it is possible. So I'm just editing it back. I'm just removing it. So if I just remove this line, after removing, I'll save it and close. And now if I try to switch, to this user, let's try now. Now it's not working. I have removed the permissions properly. Well, so that is how adding of the user, and even if you want to edit the user permissions of the root, you can do like this easily. Okay. And next, if you want to change the password or set a password, as a sudoer, you can change the password for other users, even for the sudoer yourself. And as a sudoer, you can even set or change the password for the root as well. For now, we don't know the password of the root, but if you want to change or set a password, you can do that. Anyhow, retrieving the system generated password for the root is not possible. So let's just change the password, set a new password for the root, and from the next time you can directly switch user to the root with help of the new password. And the command is passwd. Passwd is the command which you will take help of to change the password of any user. And the username which you will type here. But for this, definitely either you should be the root user or else add the sudo. Either you add sudo command or else add the sudo command or else switch to the root user, then only it is possible. Now I'm changing the password for added user. See, the sudo here is not even being asked for existing password. Sudo here directly can set a new password without even knowing the password which is existing. It's directly asking me to set a new password for this user and confirm and update it successfully. And in the similar way, I can set the password for the root as well. So once I have set the password for the root, I can switch now. When you don't know the password of the root, you will have to take help of the sudo privilege. If you already know the password of the root, you can directly switch. Authenticate as a root and switch. If you just observe everything properly while you're typing the passwords, nothing will be shown to you in the terminal. So just don't get confused here. You type the password correctly. If you type it correctly, it will definitely accept it. So not only for users only, like any password that you type in the terminal, it will show you nothing. So it is a security feature on the Linux. So do you need to repeat anything? So we'll have a break now. So before we go for break, anything if you want me to repeat, you can ask me. Then everything is clear so far? Then it's the break time for the next 15 minutes. After the 15 minutes, we'll continue from here. Any other questions to ask me now? Well, now I'm going to show you how to delete added users. Normally, in the corporate organization, so if there is the work domain of the server, if there are 100 employees, 100 user accounts, they will create just like how we did here. So with help of the command like add user, so this will be helping us to create any number of users on the system. Now just imagine the employee has stopped working with the organization. Now that will be considered as an unused account, and they must delete that account, or else there will be a threat. What if after he stopped working there, he started, I mean, maybe he's having he wants to take some kind of maybe some grievance or some revenge, maybe he's having some issue with that. He can use the user account for malicious purposes. So you should always delete that when the user account is not in use, the unused accounts. So deleting it, just the command you will take help del user. But you must understand that deleting the user folder will not delete the user account. When you create a user account, and default folder for the user will be created, if you create the folder that doesn't delete the user account, you have to understand that. So we are now creating the user account, and after creating the user account, still the user folder will be existing, but the user cannot access it. Got it? So now sudo del user for deleting the user and which user you want to delete. So don't try this on the sudo error and all, just added user only. Try this on the added user only. And now it's asking for the sudo error password. And if you're getting this error, just hold on, I'll explain. Just try this and just let me know whether you're getting same like this or anything different. If it is showing done, so that's fine. I'll give you the explanation for both as well. If you're getting exiting or else if you're getting done, so why? I'm going to explain that. So just give it a try. You're talking about removing the directory you're talking about. User account, yeah. Yeah, the folder is there, right? Like, see now if I just, if for an example, the user has deleted, but still, if you go to the home, still the folder will be existing. This you can just delete. We have shown you the command -rm-r, right? You can delete that. But normally when you delete the directory, when you delete the user account, his directory will not be deleted. The reason, just imagine one of the employee who is already working in the organization, he left the place, he left the organization, but he's already working on a project. So you deleted his user account now just to restrict him not to access the data again. But with that, what if the project information also get deleted? It should not happen like that, right? So that's why user account, when you delete it, that will not affect the user data. User data will still be available, which admin can access, but user cannot if you delete the user account. Yeah. If you, yeah. Deletion was not successful if you see here. I'm just showing you the command. This is the command, but it was not successful. I'll explain why it is not. Yeah, like you can proceed. If I successfully deleted the account. Yeah. So you have to make the changes in the configuration as well. Yeah. So I know, like how many of you getting exiting and how many remaining getting done after you tried this? So now those who are getting the done, I'll explain the reason. We added this user account, right? After we added the user account, if you tried switching to the user, I tried switching to this user. If you did not try this, your account will be deleted without giving you any prompt like this. So whoever saying done, which means you did not switch to the added user. So, but if you already tried switching to this user, when you logged into this user privilege, this user will be running in the background as a process. It is showing you the same. User Narayana is currently running by the process 3063. That is a user, that is a process ID. If you did not switch, no process will be created. But as I have switched already, the process has been created. This process should be killed so that I can delete the user. If the process is running, deleting the user is not possible. So for killing of the process, just take help of this ID. Copy the ID and use the command sudo kill -9 for immediate force kill and ID of the process. Sudo kill -9 means immediate force kill and ID. This ID will be different for all of us. Just see this. If you're getting the error exiting, the process ID will be shown to you. Just use your ID. This will help you in killing the process. And then once you killed it, you just repeat this command to delete the user. It will be successful. So I'm just showing you the same. When I deleted the user, you can see that it is killed. But when you killed, if you try to type something, sometimes it will not properly respond. It's all because of we forcefully killed. Yeah, we forcefully killed the user, right? That's why it is not properly responding. You can see that here. Whatever I type, it's not responding, but fine. If the terminal is not responding after killing, close the terminal and open new instance. If it is responding properly, then fine. Sometimes, most of the cases, after forcefully killing a user process. So this is very common thing. The unusual behavior you can observe inside the terminal. So kill it first, and then close the terminal. Open the new terminal, and from the new terminal, everything will works normally. Sudo del user, and the username you specify here, and give the sudo password. This time done. Success. See if anyone missed this, the kill command, I'm just typing it again. If in case you missed it, if you already tried, you don't have to try again. I'm just showing you as I close the terminal. I'm just showing you again. So first kill the process and then delete the user account. That is sudo your password. If you see it's sudo your password, it is not the user password. I hope all of us back here in the online and offline need to make an announcement that, so on the occasion of Mahashivratri tomorrow, there will be a public holiday, so we will not be having the sessions. So tomorrow is the holiday. We will not be having the sessions. So the next session will be on the day after tomorrow. So in the same timing and our next session. So on the Thursday we will be having, and after that everything as usual in the same timing. So it's common, like any public holidays, we will be having the holidays. So tomorrow is the holiday, and about the same, you will also receive the reminder mail as well. Yeah. Simple. Like for an example, you just asked me, I just typed 9 and telling you immediate force kill. But what are the other options we have? Not only for the kill command, that is actually a good question. So if I just ask the help of any command inside the Linux, if I type ls help, if I type sudo help, if I type del user help, how do you use and how many more other ways you can use the command? It will show it to you. So it's going to show you the information, the multiple ways how you can use it. But if in case it is not showing you the required information that you're looking for, you can always open the file, the manual file like this. If you type man, now you can see here what is -9, -1, and so other. So if the help file is not showing you sufficient information, sometimes help will be giving you the information. If you're not satisfied with the information, then you can open the man. Man stands for manual, user manual. So for any command that you want to explore, you can either take help of the help command or else manual page. Done? Got the point how to delete the user? It is there. You have to scroll. See here, examples are there. Sorry. Other ones which you can use. You cannot use every number. Like if you're thinking as I used -9, if you're thinking like it will be, there will be a option for the 1, 2, 3, 4. You will not have for everything. So for some commands, very few of the options will be used. And here 9 and 1 are there. And to list all of the processes. So from there you can select. And if you want to kill multiple processes and the IDs, if you see 4 IDs has been mentioned. Actually this -9, -1, which is not mandatory, directly kill an ID is sufficient. But -9 is to immediately kill it. Yeah. Sometimes if there is any ongoing process, it will not get killed immediately. But if you want to do that forcefully and immediately, then -9 you can use. I mean, did you try closing terminal and reopened? Yes. Sometimes like if you close the terminal, the process will be closed. Yeah. Like you're saying that I also switched to the added user, but switched back to the sudo here. Still, it did not show me any of the prompt like exiting. Deleting was successful. It's just because you close the terminal. So if you close the terminal, at that time also process will be closed. Done. Result clear. So we have understood till like the fundamentals, and then we have understood the users, adding of users. Yes, there's a RAM. So deleting of the file, you're asking me the question now. If you see here, we have discussed about deleting of the file very long back. Deleting is nothing but remove, rm command. Yeah. So just be attentive. So if any question, you can immediately ask me at that time. If you see here removing, we have discussed Very long, almost 1 hour back, we have discussed about that. So we have covered the part. So just try to be attentive, so you will just get everything. And still, if you want me to explain anything, I can do that if you ask me immediately. Okay. Yeah, that's
Hello.
great. Yes.
I use the kill minus 9 and minus 1, and I close this terminal.
Why -1?
I don't know. I was stuck. Like literally nothing was happening. So
I did not ask you to use 1, right? I for 9 is to 4 skill and the ID of the process.
okay.
So when you try to delete, it is going to show you ID, right? That ID you will have to use. The ID will not be the same for everyone. When you try to kill, if it is showing you exiting, in case it is showing exiting, then you will have to kill the process. And after killing, you will have to go for removing or deleting again.
Okay.
Yeah, if in case you're not getting that exiting prompt, like if it is showing done, removing or deleting user is done, then you don't need that. And for now, if it is completely stuck, close the terminal and open the new terminal. Close the current one and open again the new instance.
Okay. I got exit as soon as.
Then open your terminal.
Okay.
I think what I'm guessing here is you try deleting the user which is sudo here. Don't try it on the sudo here. Only try it on the added users.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah.
Yes. Well, so now after we have discussed about adding of the users, changing the passwords and deleting of the users and all, now we'll have to talk about the file permissions. And do I need to repeat anything here? So next concept we have to discuss about the file permissions. But before we go for file permissions and editing them, any questions or any other commands that I need to repeat from here? From all of these commands that we have learned, do I need to repeat anything? See, as I have already deleted the user, it's showing that does not exist. Yeah, so this kill, actually the reason for showing these two commands, for an example, you know one command but you don't know how to use it. Something like del user is a command but I don't know how to use it. So Linux will help you with a certain help message. So for an example, del user help, it's going to, okay, I need to add sudo to it, my bad. It's going to show me how I can specify a user and how many different ways I can delete a user and use this command. Simply to understand and use a command, you can always ask for the help message. So that is one way to learn about a command, any command. And additionally, sometimes this help message will be very limited. And if you feel like some specific option that you're looking for is not available in the help, then manual page also will give you the more information about the command. Man stands for manual, which is nothing but user manual. So like if you purchase any new product, you will have a complete information in the user manual, right? Similarly, the command how to use completely, so you will have in the manual page. So this man command also I can use. It's man, my bad. If you see here, the complete manual page is available here. If you compare the manual page with the help, definitely manual page will be having more of the information. Once you have read everything and understood, use the Q button to close it. Button Q to close the manual page. See, it's already there. Press H for help, Q to quit. Now got it what is man means? So this is very helpful for you to explore and learn more about other commands. I've shown you some commands and most commonly used way. But if you see here ls command or mkdir and even copying, That is not only the way. I'm just showing you which is most commonly used way of taking help of these commands. But when it comes to the command, that can be used in multiple other various ways as well. So if you open the help or manual page, you will be able to explore all of the ways. Clear? Any other questions now? So also there is a basic command, clear. This will help you to clear out all of the content inside the terminal. This will make it look like a new instance. So we have tried multiple commands. If it is all looking like a very confusing, just type the clear command. This will just clear out everything in your terminal, inside your terminal, but it will not affect the history. History is still available. So only the content on the terminal will be removed. It's like clearing the content from the terminal, but history will still be available for you. Yes, Sanjeev, the RF, just the additional F, which is used for simply to mention file name. That's it, which is optional thing. You don't have to always use RF. Just -R is sufficient. So now as you're getting this doubt, let's just open the manual page so that you will get the idea. Oh, my bad. Say I open the RM command, RM manual page. So it's like a force. Sometimes it is going to stop restrict. For an example, I'm using RM-R and I'm specifying a root directory, a root file, a file which is of root. I'm a sudo here. Even if I add the sudo, still it is going to show me that only root can. Even if you're a sudo here, only root can do this, which means you have to switch to the root and delete a file. But you don't want to delete that. So then instead of -R, just add -RF, forcing. And R means recursive. Okay. So in the manual page, you will have all of the information. But this RF is not always needed and it is very risky to use as well. Reason, if you use RF, even the root files also will get deleted. It will not even give any warning, no prompt, nothing. So that's why I don't encourage you to use RF, just use -R, it is sufficient. So next, long list the files. I hope you're on the till location and long list the files. Done. Now we have the files, but we're going to try this not on the system directories or the system files. Let's just create a new file. Any random file, just create one. But changing of the permissions, even for a normal file or the normal, even for the directory also same. On a file or a directory, changing permissions and the command is the same. So just create one file and on the file we'll try it. So don't try this on the system directories as it is going to affect some of our future practicals if you change the permissions of the system directories. This will works on the system directories as well, but again, some of the practicals while you're doing it, you will face some issues. So just create a new file and then we'll try on this new file. So after creating of the file, now if you observe, these are the file permissions, but the file permissions are not same for every file. Especially the directory is having a separate permissions and normal files are having different types of the permissions. But what are these permissions and how it will affect the specific file to be accessed by the user? Sorry. Are you on the slash or tilde? Sure. Use cd command. You just use cd command to come back to the home location of the user. Slash means that is root directory, right? So on the root directory you cannot. That's the reason it's showing permission denied. So use cd command to come here to the tilde and create a file and observe by long listing all the files. For the permissions here, the permissions which are different for every file that you see. Folders are having different permissions and normal files are having the different permissions. But how these permissions will be affecting. Now if you observe RWX, R-X, R-X, RWX, read write executable. R-X, the meaning is read executable available, no write. And same you can see next. Here RW dash, read write, no executable. Only read, no write and executable. Only read, no write and executable. So dash indicates that permission is unavailable. And whatever later you see, that permission only available for a specific user. But why do we have in 3 different sets here? So for this, you need to understand the types of the Linux users. You can actually observe there normally in 3 different sets. And if you see RW dash, R dash dash, R dash dash. So read write, no executable. Read only, no written, no executable, and the same here. But why do we have this in 3 different sets? It's because of the types of Linux users. Linux system will be having 3 different types of users. And the first set of the permissions that you're seeing here, so that is for the owners of the system, which meaning is root and sudoer. What are the permissions that root and sudoer can use? And we call them as the owners of the system. And if they have RW means they can read and write, but they cannot execute a file. And next set of the permissions for the group. And the third set that you see here, so this is for others. So now the group, as I mentioned, yes, there's what you're trying to ask. So owners means root and sudoers, and group, all of the added users will comes here. We have added the users, right? If you have not edited the permission to the sudoer, so they should also be considered as some type of the user, right? They'll comes under the category group. If in case any added user you given the sudoer permission, so they'll comes under the owners then. So if not, they're all group. And next others are the remote users. Others are okay. Remote users are nothing but the user who is remotely communicating with your device. Yes, exactly. For an example, I'm running a FTP server and someone remotely logged into my system. And I've set the permission that remote user can only read. That means they cannot modify, they cannot delete. If they want, they can download, or if they can open and read it. But other than that, they cannot do anything. No other. Sorry. Yeah. So others are nothing but yes, Ram. So I have written the second and third the same. But whatever we write here, that is what we're trying to understand. If I write r dash dash means only read is there, no write and executable. And if I write rw dash means only read and write, and no executable. And if I just type all dashes means no permissions. Well, the remote users are nothing but the users who are supposed to communicate with your device remotely. Example, you're running FTP server on your system, and you have just simply made it publicly accessible. But anyone can connect from any location if they also have internet connection. So they're trying to log in, but I have defined the others only read, which means all of these remote logged in users can only read or download the file, but they cannot modify, they cannot delete, or cannot run it. So writing is nothing but, so the activities comes under the writing operations here, the deleting or modifying, and even copy pasting and moving, all of this comes under the writing operations. And executable is nothing but running of a program or a file. And read means downloading or even viewing the file. So that will comes under the reading operations or the activities. So if I just set only R, means others who are the remote users can only read, and the group also can only read, but owners can read and write, but they also cannot execute. But these permissions, whatever you see here, on any file or any folder, owners can modify, owners can change. Owners will be able to change the permissions for themselves, also the group and others. If I want to give the additional permissions for the group, or remove the read permissions to the group, and provide the executable permissions for the others. As I am the sudoer, I am part of owners, so I will able to do that. And also don't have the right permissions here, right? As I don't have executable permissions, my bad. As I don't have the executable permissions, if I want to add the permissions for myself, I can do that as well. Okay, sorry. So this will be represented, these users will be represented with the letter UZO. And we will be using that while changing the permissions. And R means read, W write, X executable. So these are the permissions and the types of users UZO. And by using them, we will be able to modify or change the permissions for any of the users. But this can only be done by the owners. Now, I'll just show you. Now, there is a file. I'm a owner. I have read and write, which means if I want to open and view, this is working. I have a read permissions, but the file is empty. It is not showing me, but it is not showing me that permission denied. You're not getting permission denied, which means I have the permission, but there is no content to show me. So read operation is success. I want to edit this file. I just use the echo command to save just a content as ls to this file. Editing also it is allowing me, means write permissions accepted. But if I want to run a file on the Linux, to execute or run a file, // just put a // and run the file. Permission denied, that you can see here. I don't have a executable permissions, that's why it's saying permission denied while I'm running. But while I'm editing and while I'm opening, no error. Okay. So if I simply add executable permissions, and running also will be successful. And now these group and others will not be able to write also. If I simply log in as like I have deleted already this added user, but if I switch to the added user, if I try to modify this file, I will not be able to do that. If any remote user tries to run the file, they cannot. Only they can read it. So this I can change even for me and even for other, like remaining. So how it will work here is with help of a command named chmod. Change the mode. Change the mode. Like for the users, I want to add users. I mean, U means that it represents owners. For the owners, I want to add executable permissions on the file. This one. So as the owners are having executable permissions, when I have run the file, previously while I'm running permission denied, after executable permissions has added, execution success. No error this time. So I have just successfully added the executable permissions for the owners. And similarly, if you want to remove the permissions, if I want to remove the read permissions for the group and add the write permissions for the others. So this is how we can do it. So minus is to remove, plus is to add. RWX, read write executable. UZO, owners group others. And by using them, you will be able to change permissions for any of the users if you just understand this. So just try these basic ways and then I'll show you some other advanced ways as well. Do you need to repeat anything here? And one more thing, like, have you all received the mail, just 1 or 2 mails yesterday? Actually, you should receive 2. If any of you have received only 1, just check in your spam as well, check properly. The other mail, so one mail which is of yesterday's recording, and then the other mail which is of the previous batch recordings. So those who are completely from the non-technical background, just to be having the idea, like whatever we're going to learn today, just if you get the time in the fast forward mode, you can just watch the video. Anyhow, we're going to try and perform those practical here in the classroom hands-on. Just to be having the idea what we're going to learn today, you can just watch those sessions also for better idea, so that it is going to be easy and faster for you to learn in the classroom. So the reason for sharing the previous recordings, for you to watch before you coming to the session, so it's going to be easier for you to learn. Okay, and it will be shared once in a week. So like this week, all the 5 sessions will be shared in this week, and the next week 5 sessions will be shared in the starting of the next week. So for every week, once all the 5 recordings will be shared. After that, like as usually, like a live sessions, like the today's session, the same day session also will be shared in the regular mails. Okay. Well, so now so next, if you want to give permission only to the owners and group, not to the others. Yeah. Have you all tried this? If you have tried this, I'm just going to show you the other ways. If you see, just adding executable permissions for the owners, removing read permissions for the group, and adding write permissions to the others, it's done. But what if I want to add a permission, multiple permissions, or a single permission, or single user, or for the multiple users? That is also possible. For an example, I want to remove owners, group, others, everyone executable permission I want to remove. So all the people have just removed the executable. If I want to remove, or else like add write for everyone and remove read for everyone and remove write and executable, which means everyone will have the read only now. Here you can say everyone are having the read. Multiple users and multiple permissions also possible. So similarly, if I want to delete all the files, if I want to remove all the files, I can do that. So no user having no files, which means now even the owners also cannot open the file, cannot even edit it. Permission denied, and running also will not work. All the permissions has been removed. Permission denied, denied, denied. Even with the sudo also will not work. Only way you have to add the permissions. So as you can add the permissions, you just do adding of the permissions and you will be able to again gain it back. You can regain the permissions. I've added the full permissions, but except the user remaining, okay, bad. Except the owner remaining, I have removed, which means now only the owner will have full permissions, remaining will have no permissions. I've added permissions for everyone and then removed for group other. So as I have given exception to the user who is owner, he will be having it. Group and others will not be having the permissions. So some multiple ways. But if you ask me, like, is it only possible to try on one file at a time? Is it just possible to try on just one file at a time or more files? So you can actually do this. For an example, I want to first, before I'm trying this, let me show you the permissions. So everyone having executable permissions on all of the folders for others. Okay. For an example, for the others, I want to remove the read permissions on all the folders. Asterisk. The star symbol will help you to represent all. I'm just removing I wanted to remove executable, right? My bad. I want to remove the executable permissions for others on all of the files available in this location. What if you want to delete in a different location? All the files on the desktop. All of the files that are available on the desktop over the files I want to delete, the executable permissions for the others. It's done. Now let's list the files here. So there are two files, but others not having executable permissions. Clear? And the similar way in the current location also you can do that. If I just do this long list, No user is having executable permissions. Before I try this, on all of the folders, others actually having executable permissions. Sorry, till here. Others, they were actually having the executable permissions. But after I remote, no executable for others on all of these files. Simply the hashtag indicates all the star. So this in the current location and different location also it will work. And similarly, the other ways, for an example, all the files starting with the letter D, I want to add for the group write permissions. Only the files which are starting with the letter D, I want to add the write permissions for the group, which meaning is files, desktop, documents, downloads, these three, no write permission now. But once I executed this command and check write permissions, you can observe. And similarly, adding of any other permissions, the files that are ending with, maybe the example ending with the letter S. Letter S means videos, templates, pictures, downloads, documents. These are all ending with the letter S on these files. That's it. So simply by taking a parameter here, you can just modify the permissions on multiple files as well. So you can feel free to ask me if there is anything that I need to repeat. From 136. So now, if you observe the previous commands, I'm just showing you on single file, right? From the 136, I'm just showing you how can you change the permissions on multiple files. And when you want to change on the multiple files, you will be thinking of something that maybe only the files starting with letter D, only the files ending with letter S, or else like every file in the on the desktop, on all of the files on the documents. So how to specify that? Example, I'm removing executable permissions to the others for every file on the desktop. This hashtag indicates all. All the files available on the desktop, remove the executable permissions only for the others, remote users. So, and after that, I just have shown you listed the files and it has really worked. Less long listing on the files desktop. Okay. Next, if I just use chmod, which is removing executable hashtags means in the current location on all the files, remove executable for others. It also worked, and for confirmation, we use the command. And even for other users, like a group adding write permissions, every file starting with the letter D. Example, documents, downloads, and desktop. These are starting with the letter D. So only those files will be having write permissions for the group. And adding executable for others for the files which are ending with S. Downloads, documents, pictures, videos, ending with the S. So all of the files ending with the letter S. So that is how it will work. And you can either take some other, something like whatever file that is containing O, any file that is containing O, something like this, asterisk O asterisk, which means if the file is having somewhere O, yeah, anywhere, like not only secondary thought, is telling that before O anything, after O anything, if it is having O, letter O inside the, I mean in the name, file name, that files will be considered to apply the specific condition. Sorry. Here, oh, just say only till here file name. Here after the, sorry, till here the permissions, after that file name. So here O, which means like if you're confusing like that, will go with L. Yes. Here these are permissions. O others, Z group, U means users, which is owners. Owners means root and sudoers. Group all added users. Others means remote user. So before all of this, I've shown you on a single file. So here also like not only single permission. So here multiple permissions, I've shown you that, right? So this is also possible to try here as well. Okay, here I'm showing, just because I'm showing one permission for only one user, that doesn't mean only that will work. Similar as here, multiple users and multiple permissions. You can try with this technique also. You can yeah, like if you see here, we are either be able to add or remove, but we are not able to adding and removing at the same time, right? So for this technique will not work, but there is some other technique. If you just use this technique, it will not work. This technique, you cannot use two operators at the same time, either plus or minus, which means adding or removing. But if you really want to add and remove, for an example, I want to add all the permissions, read write executable for the owners on so and so files at the same time. For the group, I want to remove write permissions and remove the executable permissions for the others. Means removing and adding, I want to do at the same time. It is actually possible, but you need to understand another technique for that. If it is all clear, I'll show you that as well. Anyone's still any other questions from the concept that we have discussed so far? Well, now the next technique. So if I want to add and remove the permissions at the same time. So for this, you just have to understand this binary technique. So the binaries, 1 is like on, 0 is like off. turn on, turn off, you can say that. And now the binary value, 3-bit value. So which means if you just give a 3-bit value to convert this is how we will do it. So 3-bit value. So the value is the first bit from the right side multiplied by the 1, and second 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. That is how the serial order will follows. And if in case this bit value is 0, it's going to be the 0. 0 plus 2 plus 1, which means 3. 0, 1, 1 is equivalent to the numerical value 3. And the same way 1, 0, 1. 1, 0, 1 binary value is equivalent to the 5, which meaning multiplied by 1, 2, 4, which means 4 plus 0 plus 1 is 5. So in this similar way, we will be creating the 3-bit value, all the possibilities. So 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. So convert them to the numericals. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So 3-bit value will ranges between 0 to the 7. Okay. Now if I just take the numerical value 2, that meaning is 0, 1, 0. So no read, write, no executable, dash W dash. So if I just use 2 means that is going to be implement the permissions, dash W dash. And now if I just use 3, so 3, it's going to be 3 is here, right? One thing, I think I supposed to use 0 here, my bad. 0, 1, 1, okay. So this is 0, 1, 1. So no write, sorry, no read, but write and executable is there. So similarly, whatever numerical value you use, which means now I want to provide, now for an example, for the users, I want to provide full permissions. So 7. Okay, I think, sorry, my bad. Actually, I confused this serial order. 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1. 1, 0. Okay, actually, I just wrote it diagonally. That's why it's little giving me little confusion. 1, 0, 0 and 0, 1, 1. Okay, this little diagonal you need to understand, my bad. Not to be having the confusion. Let me just draw it again. So these are the numerical values. So by simply using this numerical value, adding and removing is actually possible at the same time, right? If now U0, I'm using like a 7, 5, 4, which means 7 represents all or WX, and 5 will be representing read, write, no executable, and 4 will be representing 1, 0, 0, right? Think again, it's incorrect. Five. So read executable, no write. And 4, only read, no write and executable. So I will be able to add and remove the permissions at the same time if I just use this specific order. Okay. Now, according to this, just need to understand that. So what exactly 0 meaning is? 0 means no permissions. 1 means only write. So yeah, only execute. Okay. And only write it is. And then write and execute, and this is only read executable, read write no executable, and read write executable. So this is no permissions. So if you just understand this, you will be able to implement for any user at any time. So this is how it will work. Again, the command is same only, chmod 754, and the file name, new file alert, new file. The file name is just new file only. So if I just check its permissions, so these permissions what I just have explained here: read write executable, read executable no write, read no write no executable. The same you can see here. So the command again, it's going to be the chmod only. So now from these two techniques, like either you feel like this one easier, you can continue with that. And this one, just if you save this in the mind, you will be able to implement. Just have to by heart this. So if I just use one, if I just use 0, what permissions will be applied? If I just use 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5. If you remember these values, you can just implement at any place. Well, so this is all the fundamentals of the Linux and some other commands which we'll be learning further with the practicals. But before we start with the practicals, whatever we have learned so far, so this is all mandatory. And if you ask me, how do we remember them easily? So only way, just do the practice once or twice. If you try all of them, from the next time, you will not feel anything difficult here. So now to learn more about it, if you just want to learn more about the Linux and the command line interface, there is a free website which I will suggest, linuxjourney.com. So this website where you can learn about Linux and the command line interface, in depth, but everything is free. Linux Journey is one website. And next thing, if you simply do the Google search for Linux cheat sheet. So you're going to get a lot of cheat sheets. Either you just download a PDF file or else some images which will be available for you. So these cheat sheets you can just use. All of the most commonly used commands will be available. So there is one interesting cheat sheet here on this website. So if you simply do a Google search for Linux cheat sheet, there are multiple, but I've personally checked and this one is interesting. And this PDF file, you have in detail information here. So completely all the commands. Now you have the complete most commonly used commands and everything here. If you still want to learn more about it, Linux can help you with the manual page, and also help is there, right? For an example, this you can see rm-r and rm-rf, as rm-rf and -r, you can see the difference. Remove a directory recursively and remove a directory without a request for the confirmation, which means especially the system files to delete, we use rf. Both will do the same, but user files can be deleted with -r, and rf where we will be using the system files to delete. And every command and the syntax, that and all is available. Now if you just want this file, I'm just sharing this link in the chat box. You can see you can download and check everything to learn more about it. And now here, those who are in the offline, let me just upload this file to your website so that you can download. So you can even explore the other files as well. Just search for Linux cheat sheet, and there are a lot of files. And this, what I'm showing you here, is just my recommendation. And if you like any other, you can definitely go with that. So for now, the file which I'm suggesting to download, open this link and download the file. This link you can open to download it. You'll have to manually type, those are in the offline, and those are the remaining in the online. You just have shared the link in the chat box, so you can use it to download. So anyhow, tomorrow is the holiday, so just do the good practice of all of the commands, especially those who are new to the Linux. Just do practice of all of these commands. If you get familiar with the command line interface and doing the practicals, it's not going to be that difficult. Just have to be having the touch with the command line interface. So if you just learn and use all of these commands once more, it's going to be very easier for you to perform the further practicals, which we're going to cover from the next session. So have you all downloaded this file? And this link is not permanent. Try to download today only. So if anyone taking the photos, so try to download today only. These links are not permanent links. I'm just using the temporary cloud service. Mostly maybe 24 hours or sometime they will keep the file. After that, they'll delete. So after we have learned everything about the command line interface, we will be starting with our very first practical, which is about the VPNs. And the VPNs, to understand this, we will be using the Proton VPN. I'll show you how to do the registration, and it is mandatory for all of us. And the practical part I'm going to show you in the next session only. For now, I'll show you how to create the account, and everyone must create the account for this demonstration. Okay, so if you simply do a Google search for, sorry,
Yeah.
so if you simply do the Google search for Proton VPN, the official website is there. Proton VPN, search for sign in, and direct sign in page is okay. Sign up will ask for sign up page. We need to create the account, right? Search for sign up, and the official sign up page is opened, and select the free plan. So just observe here. First search for Proton VPN sign up, and it's going to show you some plans and all. We are going with the free plan. Under and below all of the plans, you can see sign up for free, right? Sorry. If you already have a Proton Mail, the same account you can use here. You don't have to create again. So if you already have the Proton Mail, then you can just use the same account only. And those who are not having it, then they have to register here. So observe here, and you can actually do this registration later also. It's not a problem. I'm just showing how to create the account. So first you will search for Proton VPN sign up, and the official page is opened, the very first result. And from the first result, it's showing you all the plans, but we're going with the free. Under all the plans, you can see or sign up for free. Once you click on it, again, another prompt where just choose continue with VPN free. Now the registration will start. You'll have to provide your email address and everything, create your account. Once the account is created, we are going to use it for the demonstration of the VPN. I hope you got the idea right. So you don't have to create the account now, just do it for the next session. Now I'll just explain how the VPNs work. So sorry, I'm explaining. So there you go. We have a user and a destination server. Like user, just like all of us. When I'm trying to communicate on the internet from my computer or a mobile phone or any other device, if I have an internet connection, I can just open a browser or some other application to communicate with the destination server, which means user can send a request to the destination server and it will give the response. Now let's just assume the server is a BZMI gaming server, and just like you, there are some thousands of users, they are also playing at the same time. But how will it able to identify separately for all of the every single request from individual users? Thousands of users are there, right? So for identification of every user and the request separately and uniquely, the IP address, which is really mandatory, internet protocol. So the IP address which the user is having, and while he's sending any request, this request and the responses will be sent in the form of the packet, and IP of the user will be set as the source, and the destination, which is the server is having, the IP, it will be set as the destination. So in a packet, source and the destination IPs will be set so that the packet is exactly reaching to the desired server, and the server, again by using your source IP, it will send the response back. And this IP address is always unique. Then only the communication without any of the conflict can happen. If any two users having the same IP, and there will definitely be a conflict while communicating on the internet. So this IP addresses will always be unique addresses. Because of this uniqueness, IP addresses can also be used for the purpose of identification. Something like all of our mobile phones are unique, right? So if I just involved in any crime, if they know my mobile number, so getting my details, it's definitely possible. As the mobile number is unique, what if just imagine two people are having the same mobile number? There will be some conflict created, right? In the same way, as the IP address is completely unique, this uniqueness and the specific feature of the IP address can be used for identifying of the devices on the internet. Devices or the networks can be identified on the internet. So when you communicating on the internet, this is all possible. And someone, if the really authoritative or if they have the privilege, they can track you, and it is possible. But what if as a user and you want to use your right that I want to hide my identity and achieve the privacy? So when user wants to do the private browsing and you don't want anyone to observe him and don't want anyone to perform the attacks, or you don't want anyone to see him what he's doing and from where he is doing, so that is definitely the user right, and it is possible. And when we're talking about this specific user rights and when we're talking about the privacy on the internet, the first technology that will comes into the picture, that is VPN. So when user has decided to use the VPN, and how it will work. So VPN server, the user will try to connect to the VPN server first. So for connecting to the VPN server, user does request to use some client application. User will install the client application. Just like if you want to use the VPN, you will install some app first, right, in your mobile phone, and then you will log in and connect to the server. So that is what we call as a client application. Client application will be installed on the user device, and this client application will help the user to authenticate and communicate with the VPN server. So the user is creating a connection with VPN server by taking help of the client application. And a connection will be created, and this connection we call it as the tunnel. And after a tunnel is created, and this tunnel will provide very secure way of communicating out there on the internet. The reason this tunnel is fully encrypted. So this tunnel will be fully encrypted so that whatever you're sending, if I send any request through this tunnel, it will be encrypted fully. Means if anyone try to monitor on me, monitoring, that is what we call it as sniffing, right? If they try to do the sniffing, it will get failed. So this encrypted data will be in non-human readable and even non-system usable format, so that no one can perform the sniffing attack. So they will never know that what I'm doing. So the confidentiality you will achieve here. And next, so in a confidential way, user can communicate with VPN server, and then VPN server will help him to communicate with the destination server. Means the VPN server is acting as a middle person here to forward the user request to the destination server, so that destination server will thinks this requests are coming from an IP address which VPN is using, and what we call it as IP spoofing. So it's very simple. So instead of using the user IP, VPN will provide them to and allows them to use the VPN's IP. That is what the IP spoofing. As the IP has changed here now, definitely the destination server will thinks this request is coming from a different user or a different network or device. The actual user and actual network, the information will not be revealed. So that is how the user can hide their identity as well. So user is getting the privacy and the confidentiality both if they're using the VPN servers. But now the commonly question which will commonly rise in question here is it not really possible to track the user if they connected to the VPN? So now what if the destination server, maybe this user has involved in some crime, he tried performing the hacking on this server using and connecting to the VPN. So he's thinking that VPN is doing IP spoofing, no one can track back. But what if the destination server is tracking back to the VPN server and get the information of the user and track back to the user? So that is where we'll need to understand the policies of the VPN. So VPNs will be following something called no logs. VPNs will stores no logs. No logs means no proof. Means someone can track till VPN, but from VPN to the tracking back to the user is not possible. If there is no logs, no proof. No proof means they cannot blame anyone, right? So identifying the user will not be possible if the user is using VPN. And that is a standard methodology or a procedure how VPN will work. But this might not be the same for every location and every technology. The reason we're using Proton VPN, maybe it will work properly. But if you're using a different other type of the free VPNs and all, we cannot say if they're storing the logs or not. Reason, we will not have a sufficient details of it. We will not get any user agreement and something so and so details properly. So the standard like a technology VPN, which is designed for working in this way, but because of some locations and because of the user demands or the government demands, Some VPNs will store the logs, but before you using it, you have to check the user policies there so that you will know that. And the Proton VPN will store no logs. But this will not be the same again when you go to the different locations, especially in some Middle East countries, like in some Arab countries. Even if the user is using VPN, so their VPNs will store the logs. If the logs are there, means definitely it is possible to track, but they might not use it for every activity. If it is like a highly sensitive or highly big, I mean, highly risky or damaging crime, in that cases, they will take help of the logs to track the user easily. So they will be storing the logs, and if they're storing the logs, then it's definitely not that useful to use a VPN, not that useful to connect to the VPN, unless maybe some services what are not available in your country to connect to the other. For an example, TikTok is not accessible in India, so I will connect to the VPN and then I'll use the TikTok now. So which means now if the VPN is storing the logs, if someone wants to track me, they can do that. But still I can access the TikTok as I have the VPN connected. Means just for spoofing virtually my location, the VPN can help you. But if the VPN is storing the logs, tracking back is possible. If the VPN is not storing the logs, tracking back the user is not possible. So that you'll have to check according to the location and also according to the service provider. These policies and user agreement and everything regulations will changes for the service provider and also the location and all the region. So we are using Proton VPN reason that is the only service which is providing the free access, lifetime free access we can use. And then Proton VPN purely follows the no log policy. You can see here. Strictly follows the no logs policy, and actually the switch technology is more user friendly. Example, switch bank. So any switch technologies or the switch services which are very user friendly, even if you do any crime also, switch technologies will be more user friendly, so they will not reveal any information. So because of that, most of the people will use just the Proton VPN. Okay, so we are using this same, and for using of it, you should create the account. And for creating the account, you'll just have to proceed the process what I'm explaining. And this practical thing I'm going to show you and demonstrate in our next session, which is going to be on Thursday. So before you coming to the next session, make sure to check all the video session and practice all the command and interface, and also create your Proton VPN account. And also remaining part about the Tor networks and also deep web, dark web, and even proxies, all of those things also will be discussed on the Thursday. The same time, like at the ending of the first session only, setting up of the shell GPT, how to create a shell GPT instance and add it to our system. That part also I'll show you. But one thing, except the shell GPT, remaining all of the tools are free. For the shell GPT to use, minimum $5 we need to pay. So just those who are ready to pay that, just get your card as well, and preferably use the card which is a Visa or Master. Some RuPay cards are not working properly as it is international platform. Some RuPay cards are not working. So in Indian currency, when I tried the last time, 515 rupees something. So that is the minimum, and that will be sufficient for throughout the course. In fact, you can actually use that for more than a year also. So after that, if you want to renew, that is your choice. Yes, Shell GPT, which is the GPT-4o, that is paid. Yeah. So Shell GPT is paid. To use a Shell GPT, we have to pay minimum of 515 rupees, which is $5. Only the tool is paid. Remaining all of the tools which we're using, that are all free. For using the Shell GPT, we have to pay. And I'm not going to force you, this is just your choice. But if you don't have Shell GPT, some practicals what I'm going to show you, you will not be able to perform. To learn and experience the AI based tools also, you have to pay it. So finally, your choice. Okay, recording will be stopped here, and if you have any questions, you can ask me.